every project has up and downs. You guys face like a DPEC during 2022.
Yes.
So being a co-founder must be stressful for you. So how did you guys actually resolve the issues immediately? What did you do first?
There was like many sleepless nights. So
For the
basically,
whole team.
everyone is running 24/7
Yeah.
for a very long period of time to try to solve the problem. And then the first thing, as the response to the incident, was to because what happened was there were error mints for the AUSD due to a configuration issue, and then when you have this, it's a little bit like when you have counterfeit currency that are circulating in the economy. You need to stop it at exchange, right? So the first thing immediately is we notify all the places that are exchanging AUSD to stop at the counter if possible. Like stop the exchange
Immediately. I'm here with Betty. She is the founder of Acala. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for making your time here.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Is it a busy week for you here?
I actually just arrived.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Like
just arrived last night. Yeah.
I see. Long flight? Or?
Yeah, fairly long flight. I'm based in New Zealand,
I
so it's
see.
very far away from anywhere I go. So
And how
crypto
many-
makes everything close because it's all virtual, right?
I see.
If I have to travel physically, then it's very far away.
That's the beauty of Web3. But then you
Exactly.
get to you have to travel a long way, right?
Yes, like off-chain, offline is great. I miss that a lot.
I see. So you're the person for Web3 then.
Yeah, love it.
I see. So let's talk about you a bit. I'm curious to know your background, maybe before Web3, or you based in Web3 already.
Yeah, no one's born into Web3 because I think Bitcoin is only like a decade old. Prior to that, no one has a job. Even way after Bitcoin's born, no one's had a job in crypto or Web3.
I see.
So same for me. So I graduated as a software engineer, a student, and then did my days as
So you were a builder
developer,
yourself? I see.
engineer, and then I transitioned into a product person, a product manager for Web2. And then at some point, I got the Bitcoin bug. So, I think many people went through a similar journey that you just cannot help yourself but find ways to participate in the industry. So for me, I quit my job and I joined a Web3 company as a product manager. So that was almost like a dream come true at the time.
That was before the Bitcoin bug or after that?
Oh, that's after that.
After that,
Yeah,
I see.
yeah. So that's before Acala. And then I joined this company. What I didn't know was very quickly I found my people. So people,
like the connections to.
well, people
to the,
as crazy as me, as
see.
passionate as me, as wanted to do something about it and contribute to the field as me. And that's actually my co-founders of Acala later, once I worked in a Web3 company for a little while. And that's Retail, that's Brian, and then later on I also met Fuyao and others. And yeah, so we decided to dedicate basically our career to build something. And then at the time, we were already contributing to the substrate repository from work. And then we were users of Compound and MakerDAO at the time. So those were DeFi protocols, like the version 1.0 DeFi protocols at the time. So that was like 2019, 18, 19. And we thought, that's really cool. And then we think there's a lot that we can contribute in the field. And that's how we actually come out and decided to start our own company and basically do full-time and contribute into the industry. And then at the time we chose Polkadot. There were quite a few next generation blockchain beyond Ethereum at the time. But from the best knowledge of us at the time, Polkadot was the best bet. From the founder who's also the coder, Gavin Wood, and then from the community that we've met, we went to the Hangzhou hackathon. That was like 2019 as a judge, and then the developer community, and then to actually the code base, because we were already writing code, contributing into Substrate. So there was a number of
All
reasons.
the elements there.
To our best knowledge at the time, right? So that's how we got started of Acala. Yeah.
So Acala is like a DeFi hub, well, one of the leading one on Polkadot at the moment. So walk me through Acala for the sake of the viewer.
Yeah, so we were certainly very early because when we joined the ecosystem, it was
One of the first.
before 1.0, so before a stable Polkadot version. And it was mostly looking at, we were like very passionate about this is something, beyond and evolved, elevated from Ethereum. It solved like a big problem of scalability. Of course, I would say something different today because we've learned a lot through the past, I guess, five years, both technically, infrastructure-wise, community, developers,
Experience.
application, business, they're all changing, right? But at the time,
Sure.
it was the most promising thing that we've ever seen. And then we even stopped our smart contract development on Ethereum. So we had a contract ready to go on
Wow.
Ethereum for the DeFi summer at the time. And then we were like, move everything onto Polkadot at the time. So, and then at that time, Polkadot was very early. And then there's this new idea at the time that we think application chain is going to be a thing. And of course, today, Ethereum people are talking about every big application is going to become an app chain. So that was us 4 or 5 years ago.
I see. You were already there.
We thought that would be the thing. We think very differently today, of course, but at the time we think with the architecture that Polkadot had at the time and with what we saw other DeFi protocols has become, we think application chain is going to be a thing. Like protocols that are big enough, has enough users, would have their own chain because
Makes
you
sense.
can customize all the things that you want to suit the needs, right? So that's why we come up with the idea of Acala and then trying to fill basically a blank in Polkadot at the time. So it's liquidity blank because every chain that when you start it, you will need liquidity. Like how do you go from 0 to 1? And then obviously, at the time, stablecoin and lending, the sort of the lending plus stablecoin. Basically, if you can issue stable currency and then supporting an ecosystem, like basically an economy that can flourish, from basically building a new city, right? Starting from 0 to 1. That would be the thing to do. And then alongside with that, we also believe that liquid staking tokens. So we had this product called Liquid Dot. So basically at the time, there's no LSTs, which is the thing today, right?
Liquid staking is
there's
only
nothing
today.
at the time.
Yeah.
So we thought at the time there is no naked dot or naked staking token in the future because they will all be staked. Because why would you leave 20% on the table, right? Everyone would take it. However, the beauty of tokenization is you can have your money and value in 2 places at the same time, which means you can have the token staked to provide security, and then at the same time, the tokenized version of it, which is the LST, can provide value like liquidity and empower the economy and commerce at another place right at the same time. So that was like 5 years ago, right?
Easy.
So our sort of dream was like, well, with the LST of DOT as the base, and then if you can build like a bank on top of it, which is the stable coin, and issue stable token, and then, and we also have an exchange because part of that is, if you have a commerce, exchange is the most important place for the liquidity, but at the same time, it also helps to, with the risk management for the bank as well.
Yeah.
So that was like 3-in-1 package. That was Acala at the very beginning. Yeah.
So fast forward 5 years up to now.
Yeah.
What is Acala?
Oh, everything's changed.
Yeah. I know, right?
Everything is changed.
From all the events that happen, like different period as well. You guys like constantly change, and even now we have like Age of Core time. It's also like different.
Yeah, we have Jam.
Yeah, and
coming
Jam
up that
coming
we
up.
are a core contributor to Jam protocol as well, and things
Yeah,
are
also
very,
gonna-
very, very, very different because during that period of time, we waited for a very long time to launch to start with. And then we missed sort of two important cycles in DeFi. There was like DeFi 1.0 summer and also the DeFi 2.0 summer that followed that one. So like the thing about entrepreneurship is like often when you're successful, you think it's all because you're capable. It's all because you're so good, your vision is great, you're executing so well. And when you fail, it's because of something else. But it's actually both. You know, when you're successful and when you fail, there's a lot of contributing factors. It's like market, and then the timing is actually playing a very important role. You have to ride the cycle, right? Because if everyone is not participating and you're trying to pull people from one direction to another, it's like an ant pulling an elephant, basically. It's very hard. But it also doesn't mean that your capability doesn't count. It also counts, as well as what you're building, as well as other stuff, right? And what we've learned is, especially throughout, like, the cycle thing is one, right? So we kind of missed the timing, but that's kind of like out of our control. And then the second thing is like, Polkadot did have its very high point in between, because when we launched the crowd loan, at that time, there's not that many people understand Polkadot. At least from my perspective, one of the things that we're very proud is we did a lot of education for general Polkadot. It's like bring people along the journey with us. So we were probably the only one or first one to did like this quest campaign, like having people to try to learn about Polkadot from a user perspective, not developer.
That's important.
And then for them to take on a journey to, there's like a stepped quest campaign that they have to do, like have a wallet, right? Have some coins, and then understand what it's doing.
That's
and
all
then,
the steps.
And then participate in the crowd loan, which is a very simple way to kind of get involved in the process. So we brought on like hundreds of thousands of users just for that event. And then also, of course, at a high point, it was like 1 billion, sort of over $1 billion sort of campaign for the crowd loan. And that actually made, headline all across the board, right? Like, surely we don't want to talk about price, we don't want to talk about TVLs, tokens locked, but that's one way, just like, people talk about your share prices, it's one way of, judging, how people are perceiving your community, and then whether you are making enough effort to raise awareness of people to come and learn about your tech. And then, of course, the next step is the real test. Is there a product market fit? Are people going to stick around? Are there actually really useful application being built, right? And then that's actually the next point. Is the next thing I learned is, well, at the time, I thought the Polkadot technology stack, that there were like 2 or 3 similar technology stack for scaling at the time. So there were Polkadot, there were Cosmos, there were another one that disappeared later on. And of course, later on, there's like Polygon and others like followed on. They were all sharding technologies. And at the time, it looked perfect. Because like at the time, with all the stuff that we know, sharding seems like a very logical step to increase parallel processing, increase throughput. So lots of things can happen at the same time. But at the same time, it shares security, right? So Polkadot is one of the few that has shared security. It's very important because you don't want to raise hundreds of $millions every time you create a new app chain, because there's only limited resources and money around. So you don't want to do that. So share security is very important. That's also the same approach Ethereum is taking right now. So they have a hub and then also L2s. They all share security from Ethereum L1. However, what we missed is, while this type of sharding is good, it shard too deeply. So it sharded not only the processing power of a computer or a blockchain, it also sharded the execution. So how you run the application is sharded. So application is run in different islands.
So like different, they already cut it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then it shards all the liquidity. So all the liquidity goes to
But
different
then
places.
you need to put it into like a pool, right?
You can't.
You
can't.
cannot.
What type of sharding you can't. So liquidity is sharded, and execution. So when you build the application, it's sharded.
So basically, when was that period of what you were mentioned?
Yeah,
When
so
was that?
so it was very obvious from the day one when we launched. Like obviously we are not very vocal about it because you were trying your best from our perspective, from our sort
You
of.
do it in silence without.
Well,
telling.
as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things you can't control.
Of
Like,
course, of course.
We at the time we can't control how Polkadot is going to evolve. It's a chain just newly launched. You can't just say let's scrap it and then restart it again. So we try many different things. However, it's very obvious from the time is when liquidity is sharded, your community is sharded as well. So you created this unnecessary competition amongst your so you kind of split your community into different shards
I see.
as well. So in a I guess ideal environment, you would want the processing power sharded, so you can, like our computer, you can process many applications at the same time, and it's very fast and very scalable. But you want to experience everything on top merged. So you would want people's application are able to build on top of each other. Liquidity,
So like layers.
yeah,
Layering.
liquidity can build on each other like a single computer, just like Ethereum, right? So it's just like one computer, like Solana, right? But you don't want the underlying processing to be one computer because it, inherently it creates contentions of resources, so it's becomes slow. So you want the computer itself to be multi-core, multi-thread, fast, but you want everything on top. You want one operating system on top, and then the application experience, user experience, liquidity all merge together.
Interesting.
Yeah, and what we had before was everything is
Sharded.
cut into pieces, and then there's no way and very difficult to kind of merge them together. Like we try all sorts of different ways, right? From beginning, you try to bring the users to one chain to another. You open up, all the channels, and then later we have wormhole, the bridge, and then we introduce new technology to make one-click experience. Like it helps, right? However, there's things needs to be changed, like fundamentally, to kind of like reduce or remove the unnecessary competition between the shards, right? Which is no need. And then that of course is why we kind of like shifted completely last year for Acala into this Acala 2.0. So focus more on Acala becoming the infrastructure of a liquidity layer. So basically, I think users should not know there are chains.
For users only, right?
For users and even developers at certain layer, they shouldn't care about chains. They would mostly care about what sort of needs, problems they are solving, and they just pull liquidity all together and then be able to solve the problem. Just like when I use Grab today from my hotel to here, I only worry about my destination and where they pick me up. I don't need to worry about which iPhone multi-core processor I'm using to actually process my instructions, right? So this is what we are today. Is I have to worry about when I send money to this person. Am I on layer 2, or do I need to transfer it to Acala, or do I need to
They don't need
send
to
it back
anymore.
to the dot and then stake it? I have to worry all this stuff. I don't think we need to, and we should worry about that. So from last year, Acala evolved to 2.0. We've done the Exodus upgrade, and there's infrastructure being built so that it abstracted all this away. So we become the liquidity layer. So things can be routed around Acala. So there's many transactions today are routed across Acala. People don't know. So they could just do a one-click transaction, getting DAI from Ethereum and go into another parachain or vice versa, or even from Solana to Acala, and people didn't even know they have left Solana or they have left Ethereum, and that is the ultimate goal that we're trying to achieve. But of course, those work will be superpowered by Jam, which is sort of what Gavin is building. I don't know.
Everyone's excited
Yeah,
about
it was
it,
like it was like coincident, but also like, I guess we think in a similar realm. Because last year when we published our paper for Acala 2.0, Gavin hasn't published his, hasn't published Jam. And then when he published Jam, And when I see the
Think.
vision, I knew, well, like it's on the right track, and I know he's gonna solve that problem. And then, but of course, the devil is in the details and execution, and this is down to all the developers and Gavin in the next year or two to be able to, I guess, make this vision into, a real thing, and then be able to, I guess, spring up again a new ecosystem and community again. Yeah.
But I mean, in general, it's gonna be a breakthrough, right? For not only Acala, other projects as well. But
Yeah,
then
yeah, definitely.
You,
So
you guys think immediately with the idea of it,
yeah,
right?
definitely. I think that's one of the things that an entrepreneur has to do, and it's the hardest to do.
And
is
it's not
like
for luck,
be able to
though.
reinvent yourself. And then for us, it's the same. Like we
It's the
ditch
same concept.
we ditch the stable coin. That's another story. I can talk a lot about how we think about stable. I still think about stable coin today, but it's in a different realm, right? And I think about it more in terms of liquidity, how people move money, right? But at the same time, we reinvent ourselves to actually be able to enable, the sort of the vision that we want to see is everyone will be able to access this thing, and developer can build great apps on this technology stack and be able to, especially today, I think, as we are facing a lot of geopolitical threat. It's different from 5 years ago. Like a lot of this
Definitely.
is very blue sky, and then very.
You mean like 5 years ago, or
5 years
yeah.
ago? So when we enter the field, decentralization, and then
Sounds great
have the
effort.
techs that run on Web3, and then self-solvent. A lot of these things is idealism. I know people at certain point will chase that ideal, but there's no immediate pain for most people. It's very hard at the time, like 5 years ago. But of course, for us, it's different. We see a lot of interesting things, but today is different. I think for a lot of everyday people, it becomes an immediate threat. Because even in the Western countries today, like self-sovereignty, and then the free speech, and then a lot of the financial freedoms, like how you move your money, has been restricted. Because of the geopolitical threat that's been happening around the world, especially in the Western world. And people like 5 years ago that I talked to that didn't think much about this, and today it becomes an issue, and they would love tech that can enable them
When they want to
to
hear
give
more.
them
Yeah.
that freedom that they used to have and take for granted, right? And this has like not just for the financial applications, but normal applications that built on Web3 technology, where I think Polkadot's time will come when this stuff.
got
I think
exposed.
we're at this juncture. Is like you need this infrastructure, and then there's also the sort of the I guess the timing is also correct for this becomes a
To
thing,
bloom,
right?
I
Yeah,
see.
exactly.
Understand. I mean, but they have their own. I mean, different ecosystem. They have their own way, right? And for me, Polkadot is going a sustainable way, as I perceive. Yeah. And let's change the topic a bit. I wanna ask a little bit about the 5 year that you were talking for Acala, right? I mean, every project has up and downs. You guys face like a DPEC during 2022.
Yes.
So being a co-founder must be stressful for you. So how did you guys actually resolve the issues immediately? What did you do first after that issues happened?
Yeah, so there was like many sleepless nights. So basically,
whole team.
everyone is running 24/7
Yeah.
for a very long period of time to try to solve the problem. And then the first thing, as the response to the incident, was to because what happened was there were error mints for the AUSD due to a configuration
Yeah.
issue, and then when you have this, it's a little bit like when you have counterfeit currency that are circulating in the economy. You need to stop it at exchange, right? So the first thing immediately is we notify all the places that are exchanging AUSD to stop at the counter
Yeah.
if possible. Like stop the exchange
Immediately.
And this also happened to the exchange on Acala. So we passed a on-chain emergency governance proposal to stop the exchange of AUSD and also all the relevant sort of operations, and then also post some of the operation that stops the AUSD and also some tokens to be kind of transported outside of Acala. And then it kind of like, because of that immediate action, majority of the assets are protected within Acala until we finish our trace. And then so the next thing is, so once we notify everyone, and then we done the on-chain sort of governance to stop the damage, I guess, we started the trace. So trace is basically figuring out exactly where every single dollar has gone. Because you have to figure that out in order for the community to decide what you want to do with those error mint that has been floating in the market. We've done two things. One is, when it first started, we did the manual trace. So we basically identified the top 10, 20 like biggest accounts, like how they actually done the error mint and where the money has gone. And then meanwhile, we're pretty proud of this part is, we wrote our in-house algorithm to do on-chain trace.
Wow.
So automatically, so when we published that report, we basically chased every single dollar. It's a large amount, and then we chased every single dollar of the every single AUSD with every single account and all their transactions and where the money has ended up.
How long for
so for the
writing?
first, the manual ones, it's very quick. We publish in a couple of days, basically.
That's the immediate actions you need
and
to
then
do.
and then we did this iteration. So basically, as we move every few days, we publish certain report, and then we release more and more of the accounts, and then until I think maybe a week or two, very quickly, the full report is out. And then that's all open source. So everybody can rerun the program and they can see exactly where the dollar has gone, from which account actually did the error mint, and then which account actually exchanged the error mint to DOT, to ACA, to other tokens in the exchange, and where it has gone. Some of them moved it to exchanges, some of them moved to other chains, and then you can chase all of that. And then once you got the report, it's very clear, right? And then the community then decided, okay, it's clear these are the error mints, let's burn them, and then let's do these actions to kind of recover the AUSD. And then at the end of the day, there is still a gap, because some people has moved the coins out, and then some people has done this and that to the AUSD. So from Acala Foundation, we recapitalize all the remaining like AUSD. So recapitalize means basically put our own money into AUSD so that to make it whole. So basically every AUSD
To
has
bridge the
more
gap.
than one assets backing it, be it like DOT or be it ACA. And then the next thing we did was the exchange was not at a sort of fair rate, because people imagine like they minted a lot of AUSD, they basically sell the AUSD, and for example they buy a lot of DOT and they move the DOT out, right? And then the exchange is at wrong level. So what we did is like we from the Acala Foundation, we put money back into the exchange, so it come back to before. So before, if the pool has, I don't know, however amount of AUSD and however amount of DOT, we put all the DOT back as well. So that's like rebalancing the pool as well. So and then basically the vault owners as well as the LPs, so they're very important people, like providing liquidity into Polkadot and also Acala, so they made whole. And then alongside with that, we gradually reopen the entire Acala chain. So because before it's like paused, so we gradually reopen, and so people will have minimum impact, because when it opened, they basically went back to what they were before. And then also not impacting the price as much as well. However, there were disappointing things.
Effectiveness after the
along with it is like, we didn't talk a lot about this, but I think I talked a little bit about it in my last sort of community call, was regarding exchanges. And, like namely KuCoin, I think everyone's asking, is like a very strange thing was like, the first thing we did was like telling all the exchanges like AUSD where they are changing hands, you have to stop, right?
Of course.
If you're a decentralized exchange and you have no one controlling it, right? You can't, but you are centralized, and we have no idea even to today why AUSD was allowed to trade continuously. So that means all the people, but basically it's like I've got $1 million counterfeit dollar, and then I went to the bank. And then the bank counter already got notified by the government saying, those are fake money.
But then it's
you
still-
should not, do the exchange, or at least if within your power,
wait or
then
something.
you should catch that person and then wait until our investigation. And that didn't happen at all. So that made a big mess, because imagine if those dollars goes into the bank and then changing hands with another person taking out from the ATM. Basically, that's money laundering. If you actually compare that to our normal TradFi, right?
Have you
So-
thought of like possible reasons for it?
Well, it's very clear actually. Because we are Web3, like we are on the blockchain, everything is very clear. Because when we did the trace, we were surprised, because there were analysis done in the community, in the forum. People were publishing all the on-chain transactions, and then when we did the trace, you can clearly see how much
who and how
AUSD is available at the time. So when you look at the KuCoin accounts, they're not secret. You can see even before the incident, there's not enough AUSD compared to what they have in their books, right?
So basically,
so
money
so
laundering.
if in allegedly, some people like would put that in terms of bank run, if people do want to do that, right? So that was like we felt really surprised at the time and felt very strange with their actions. Like, are you trying to wash trade or something? And then what happens next was like, and also to be clear, we were probably the largest user of AUSD on KuCoin. So we have like an intrinsic interest trying to get it fixed and then get our money out. So we still haven't got our money. And
Up until
now.
now.
And then we were probably the largest holder of AUSD on KuCoin. And so that was very sort of devastating. And then we have like, you thought, projects actually have very little power versus exchanges. And it was very, very non-transparent. Even though from the on-chain transaction, you can see what is going on in their books, right? So we have been taking like legal actions. It's a very long one, and it's very hard to move things, and it's very frustrating. And we haven't talked a lot about it, and I'm sure that's why people are maybe having their own opinion on what's happening. And what,
Of course.
Yeah.
This and that.
yeah.
But
So
yeah.
So I think, but that's
What kept you? What kept you and the team going so strong?
It's like, I think with the sort of, I guess, scale of incident, and then the amount of shit that you're taking on, and then also the sort of the not so helpful this type of partners that you have, I think like a lot of people will give up, right? If you see protocols that having this type of difficulties in the past, they would probably take many different ways to exit the game. We chose to stay because I think, at least for me, is like one of the things I think as an entrepreneur is you stick around and you never give up. And entrepreneurship is hard. And then, there are many people are talented and many people have no idea what they're doing. But if you strongly believe the industry that you're working in, like for me is like the crypto industry, the Web3 vision, the freedom of access, that's things that I believe that is going to work on to be useful and helpful for people, that I will not give up. And then usually if you look at the past and the history, it's usually is the people who stick around that will be able to eventually bring real value and then being able to make an
Just
impact.
sustain.
Just stick around. Just stick around, and
Stick
then
around.
there are a lot of shit happening around.
Things happen.
Yeah, things happens. But if you stick around, continue to learn and evolve, continue to put in work, just not give up, and then that will actually separate you from majority of
From
the
the
pack.
pack.
And then just continue to surround yourself with good people, right? People want to see you to be successful and want to have similar vision as you, to want to make an impact in the field. And eventually you will come around, because today I think we have to admit the fact that we're not at our high point, like not just Acala, because we are mostly a little ship on the mothership, right? A little boat on the mothership. Mothership is Polkadot. We're not at our highest point, right? We're probably in one of the lowest point, just probably like the cycle. Like we're at our lowest point, and then we are kind of reinventing ourselves in the making. And so in this process, then it's most important is like be clear, and then revisit your vision and
value.
and then be able to continue to grind and then make things happen. So.
I think that's brave of you guys. And then reinvent it. It's actually great. It's good.
Yeah, and then you will also know from real
For
person
projects.
feedback. So, for example,
Definitely.
you mentioned, we actually created campaigns and collaborating with like Selena, Jitoso, and this new projects. So what we've learned is like that's one of the many that we are making a lot of collaboration and friends with. Many L1s, many L2s as well, because of this vision that we have is like liquidity layer, right? So that means liquidity layer for all L1s, L0s, L2s, L3s, so they're all our friends. And then Jitoso, Solana is one of the ecosystems. Rocket Pool, Ethereum will come very soon. And then we are also making friends with like Avalanche. And then Tom, the Telegram chain, and then many others, right? So because of the infrastructure, the tech, and then also the way that we're doing it, the Jitoso people having a blast, having a great experience. Because one of the, some of the users, they actually told us they were a little bit surprised and scared because they thought when they did the staking on Acala, they haven't left Solana. So they thought they haven't left Solana. They have already finished bridging, staking, and then restaking on Acala and Polkadot, right? So that's the experience that surprises people, and that's the experience we want to actually get to. And then that's actually very repeatable for all the other ecosystem as well. And then those are all very good builders, like the teams that we're working with, and they all appreciate Acala and also the technology behind it, like Polkadot that we bring to the table. And then so I think people should value also real life feedback from actual builders, actual people who are contributing to the field, rather than like a lot of the noise, right? So
I mean, it's actually been inspirational to hear what you were sharing. Actually, Well, thank you for sharing like that. And last question: what's the upcoming plan for Acala?
I've actually like mentioned a little bit of that already
before, right?
So there's two tracks. One track is since last year we started this Acala 2.0 upgrade. We're still in the process of it. It's basically building Acala as the liquidity layer of all chains, right? So that started from infrastructure architecture upgrade to enable this to happen. So today we've seen a taste of it as you can do one-click staking and restaking from Solana to Acala without even knowing you're leaving Solana.
That's great.
So that's the first sort of proof of concept. And then we are doing application layer. So the Euphrates sort of is one of the first step that we are experimenting, and now it's probably
Euphrates, right?
Euphrates. Now it's proving itself to be an enabler of applications that can have this type of experience. And then the next will be liquidity aggregation. So then we're doing chain by chain, and then bring liquidity on top, and then evolving ourselves to building new application. And then alongside with that, we are co-contributor to Jam. So we're working very closely with Gavin to build. Well, firstly, obviously, is the Jam technology itself. Right, building the clients and then helping with the paper and then things like that.
What can we expect from the technology? Any technology that will be used in Acala?
Oh yes, so basically the two tracks of Acala is Acala will evolve with Jam because once we build Jam, then it will be a very different way of running things. There's no parachains anymore, right? You have to think in a different way how you enable all the liquidity. So our goal is bring a liquidity
to Jam,
to Jam, and then for that to actually power the commerce and the developers has not changed.
Would that be different from the parachain itself?
It will be very different.
Different.
So that's why at the moment we're still at stage 0 is building the Jam tech itself. Once the Jam tech itself is built, then you have to build some of the infrastructure, like the application enabler. for example, some of the cores, some of the application sort of infrastructure on top of Jam to enable other people to come and build on top of Jam as well. So, and then Acala would then evolve into, I don't know, maybe cores applications or application enabler technologies to enable all of those things that we want to do to happen on Jam. So yeah, so the two tracks are running alongside with each other, and they're very much, I think, transferable, because once you build sort of the liquidity sort of tech or infrastructure, then once we have Jam, then a lot of those can be transferred onto Jam, but of course in a different, it will look and feel differently, hopefully, right? Because in a good way.
Hopefully.
And yeah, and then Acala will grow with Polkadot once again as well.
I mean, you still have a long way to go, but I think I and everyone is like looking forward to see what's next for Acala.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you for coming here today. Actually,
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for
Thanks
all
for
the
your time.
sharing. It's really nice been talking to you. Hope to see you in the future as well.
Thank you. I hope to see you again.
Okay, we're done.
All right. Thank you very much.